Welcome everybody to today's webinar, Visual Scheduling Essentials, how to personalize your scheduler. My name is Martin and I'm the CEO and one of the owners of NETRONIC software from Germany. So I'm glad that you're here, that you take some time to join me for the next 50 to 60 minutes on some visual scheduling basics and essentials. As most of you might know, we have a couple of products and this webinar is looking at the visual production scheduler and the visual job scheduler, and I will show you some options how you really can personalize these two products. I will not talk about the VAPS, the Visual Advanced Production Scheduler today. And before I get started with the topic, I have two things that I would like to share with you or to announce to you. The first one is that we used to have a product that was called the Visual Resource Viewer, and we decided to retire this product. The Visual Resource Viewer was an app that we built for Business Central. It was meant to just show resource allocations from various modules. And it actually was, I think, the first or the second app that we sent to AppSource. And for us, this product was less than a product, than more of a development playground for our developers when we started working on building visual extensions for Dynamics 365 Business Central. And sometimes you build guinea pigs and they turn out to be very useful. And sometimes you build guinea pigs and then they are useful to gain experience, but they are not useful for clients. With the VAV, the latter was the case. So it was not a useful product for clients, which can be seen by the fact that we had no client for it. So the fact that we retire it is just, we have to remove it from the price list and have to remove it from AppSource and have to remove it from the website, but it does not do harm to any customer because nobody was using the product. So we decided for having more focus on what we do for Business Central and this focus on manufacturing and on engineering to orders and project service companies, so with VPS, VAPS, and VJS. There's actually a blog on the website where you can look for more details. On the other hand, when we strip down things, we also double down on some of the things that we do. And actually in the last couple of weeks, while not only us as NETRONIC, but we as the world have been sent to the home offices, we doubled down on the way we interact with you, we communicate with you, and we provide information to you. So we increase the number of webinars we run, we increase the number of blogs that we write. I started a podcast that we spoke about a couple of times now also in this webinar, and now we decided to crank up a new event type, which we call Next by NETRONIC, and this is meant to become a series of events. You can find information via this link, or if you are on our webpage, if you're on netronic.com, go into the Business Central area, then you see webinars, blog posts, and then look for upcoming webinars and events, and then you see Next by NETRONIC, click on event details, and it brings you to this page where you still can register. So this Next by NETRONIC activity is different to a webinar. We will speak about Business Central and advanced visual scheduling and manufacturing next week, but this is meant to be much more interactive than a webinar. A webinar typically is me giving a demo for 50, 55 minutes, and then some of you, and you're cordially invited to do this, some of you asking a question through the chat pane. With this event, we want to have it much, much more interactive. So there will be a very short demo at the beginning. Then there will be a panel discussion with at least myself and James Crowther from Technology Management from the UK on the panel, maybe a third person. You have the opportunity to submit questions in advance, but when you register to this event, we also have a short questionnaire that we ask you, and based on the feedback we get, we will prepare some questions, and then after the panel discussion, there will be an open Q&A session where James, myself, and a lot of Netronic experts are around to answer your questions. So this should become a real interactive thing. The podcast is me talking to somebody and recording it. The webinar is me presenting and you eventually asking questions. The blog is us writing and you reading. And next by Netronic should be us talking, although we are in different places. So my team came up with the idea and they really work hard on making this happen. And I think this is a fantastic approach so that we can also have the opportunity to get into more interactive conversation with each other. So make sure you come and join us next week. And with this, let's get to Visual Scheduling Essentials. This is a webinar series that now I think this is the third or fourth event where I talk about Visual Scheduling Essentials, where I really would like to look at some of the essences of our product, explain some of the underlying concepts so that you can really make better use of our products or um, make sure that your customers get better use of them. So what I prepared for today is let's quickly talk about why the heck you should think about personalizing a visual scheduler. And I will just quickly look into this question, quickly answer it before we then look at really the variety of options that are today available within the visual production scheduler and the visual job scheduler. And then in the end, I will also shed a light on the question, but what if these personalization options are not sufficient? What if you really need something owned, something individual, if you have a customer who is very particular, has a very particular scheduling case, how to do this? And I will do this just 5 minutes. And then if you have more interest into this topic, then please then at latest then let me know via the chat box, because then we can build either a new webinar just on this topic, or we can build or create a next by Netronic event where we can discuss this and where we could build together a hello world visual scheduler in a blank Business Central environment. So this is what we are going to do in the next couple of minutes. And let's start with the question, why personalizing a visual scheduler? And there should be only one reason to it. And this one reason is speed. This one reason is time. And the only reason for for individualizing a visual scheduler is you should do this if this helps you to achieve your scheduling targets faster, or you should do it for your client if this helps them to achieve their scheduling targets faster. And if you work with a product such as the visual production scheduler or such as the visual job scheduler, then you do this or your clients do this because you pursue a scheduling target. And then these products are built to work with out-of-the-box Dynamics 365 Business Central, and so they provide an immediate value if you or your customers work with the standard jobs, resource planning, and manufacturing module. And so they already fulfill a target. But if you want to achieve something and you feel like, okay, if I do see this information here, or if I don't see that information here, then individualize it so that you can get to where you need to get faster. I am personally not a fan of too many personalizations and of too many personalization options. So this is actually an ongoing, I would not say fight, but an ongoing conversation and discussion I have with both our sales team, who always want a zillion of options, and also our development team, who love building a zillion of options. But I think actually having too many personalization options is not always a good idea when it comes to visual scheduling, because if there are too many options, then for the user, this is an invitation to play rather than to use. And this is something that I observe with myself, and I ask you to kind of observe yourself as well. how you interact with software and how you work with software that has a zillion of options. When I come across a software like this, then often I just start to play. I just start to test, and then I tweak it here and tweak it there. And then I find myself just exploring options rather than using the software. And the extreme example was when I started the podcast series. I use a tool for the post processing where I hear at the audio, and I use an open source tool. This is super powerful to work with audio tracks, and I found myself playing with options for hours, maybe for days, and everything I did kind of changed the quality of my audio in the range between 87 and 93%. So at a range where the standard listener to a podcast who listens to this on an average good device will even not make recognize a difference. So having too many options can really be difficult. So I'm not a fan of having too many options, but some of them really help you get to your target faster. And if this is the case, then make use of them. And this is always the discussions that we have, both with the sales team who request this and with the developers who want to build them. Is like, what kind of options should we build, and how can they help a customer achieve the scheduling targets faster? And then there are actually, although I'm not the biggest fan of them, and ultimately and indirectly I pay them because I give the budget for the development. We allowed for many of them, and we are allowing for many of them, but they are always, everything that we build there has to meet the criteria that they can help a customer achieve the target faster. And there are, in our products, in the VPS and the VJs, there are 4 anchor points for making individualizations. This is the business central data. So which kind of data do we want to see in the products? Then this is the question of context specific information. Which kind of information do I want to see in a given scheduling context? Then there is the question of the level of the information detail. Which detail of information do I need to see in which scheduling situation or for making which kind of decisions? And then there is, of course, the scheduling behavior. So can I make the product work that way or that way because this better suits my respective situation? And so now let's go through them one by one, and let's start really with the business central data. And I keep this short because actually on most of this I have been doing a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and you can control and you can individualize and you can customize the business central data that you see in both the VPS and the VJS with the data filter, with the view filter, and with defining the time frame that you see. And then in the visual production scheduler only, we also give you the capability that you can only, once filters are applied, show only partial production orders. And again, there actually is a lot of sophistication behind. So I ran a 1 hour's webinar just on this. So now in this webinar, I will make this rather short and crisp, but for those who didn't have the time to listen to me talking 1 hour about filtering, I will just give you an overview and an idea of how this could work. So with this, let's quickly switch over to Business Central. And let me log in. Most likely I will have to do it a couple of times unless I avoid talking too long. Sorry for that. And I also recognize that I'm in a not ideal demo environment. because I was testing new functionality, because I will show you some new functionality over the course of this webinar. But now let me switch from my playground to somewhere where I have a bit more meaningful data. Just a second, please. And then I'm almost there. It starts now with the VPS, and I wanted to start with the VJs. So let's talk about filtering and how you can individualize your filter. And we have the data filter that comes up on the start of one of our extensions, one of the apps. So when I start the visual job scheduler, we actually see this filter dialog coming up. This is what we call the data filter. And with the data filter, you can determine which kind of data are sent to the visual job scheduler and respectively to the visual production scheduler for scheduling purposes. And you see that I have some of the filters, and let's look at, for example, this show project filter. So in my database, I have a bunch of projects, and some of the projects are actually set up as templates. Some of the projects were set up as projects with which I was playing around, and some of the projects are actually projects that I'm planning. And with this filter, and let's look actually at this filter. And with this filter, I am filtering by the job number, and all my real projects, all those projects that I filter on, their number starts with J. So I'm filtering on all the jobs where the number starts with J, so J asterisk. I could have also built a filter on the resource group, and I could have built a filter on the resource. This is something that I will do a little bit later when I'm looking at the VPS, but the base functionality now we're looking at the VJS. So if I say this, then I'm not looking at all my projects, but I'm individualizing the data that I see insofar that I'm just looking at those products where the name starts with a J. Okay, and this is here. The name, the number of the project always starts with a J and not with something different. So this is a way how you can individualize the data that you see here. Because if I would not apply the filter, let's do this. Maybe let's leave it again. Leave it again. And now let's say the demo all filter. And by the way, the next level of individualization is you can say, this is my filter. It's only relevant for me. And this filter here with the show projects, this is a filter that everybody in my company should work with. So you can also make the filter that you define and save with the speaking name. And you even see that I have some in German that you can release it to your or share with your client, with your colleagues in your company. So now I take another filter. So I'm looking at another set of data, individualizing the data that I've seen in the visual job scheduler. And now you see the picture looks a little bit different. You see I get warning messages because some of the projects are really crap. I didn't care for them, so they have bad data. And you see it's just more data here. So this is the one way where I can kind of influence the data that are shown. The other one, and this is the same in VPS and VJS, under the user setup, I actually can define the time frame. And the time frame is another data filter. It does not filter on like project name or resource name or work center name or work center group number, but it filters on time. And I customized my visual job skill in a way that I'm looking at the time frame in a relative way, and I'm looking 3 weeks back and 6 months out. So when I load the data, I don't know of any data that of any project that will happen in 9 months, and I also don't look at something that is more than 3 weeks old. So I'm just looking at this time window. This is relative from the work date, and everything that is from today older than 3 weeks or which is more in the future than 6 months will not be shown. And this is again an individualization you can make, and actually this is individual because you as the individual user can make this setting. So if you have somebody in your client or in your organization who is, let's say, in manufacturing responsible for shop floor execution, then they just might want to look 1 day back and 2 days out. This is their planning horizon. And then you have the master planner who needs to look for enough capacity supply for the next 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Then they look 2 weeks back and 2 or 3 months out. So you can define this individually. Then next to the data that is loaded, you can also narrow the view with a view filter. And this is something that we know briefly where I switch the product. So I'm hopping product so that you just see the principles. I'm now going to the visual production scheduler. I say show all. And then we do 2 things. Now you see all my production data here, and maybe we do it from here first. Now we do it in the other view, in the capacity view. So now I loaded all the data, and you see I have 2 work center groups, machining, assembly, quality control, and then work centers, and under the work centers, the machine centers. And now that the data is loaded, I want to change it, and I can apply a view filter. So I can reduce, I can individualize the amount of data shown. And now I pick a filter that is called machining only. And when we look how the filter is built, then we only filter on the work center group where the work center code is 1. So we only will filter on the machining. And if I do this, then I have 2 options. First, I need to apply the filter. This would be a very good idea. Now the filter is applied, and this is what most of the customers and most of the users would expect. I filter on machining and I only see what is in machining. Now there is another setting that actually took place because let me quickly disable the filter again. So when we look at this production order that I just selected, you see actually it starts in cutting, then drilling, then milling, and then it goes to assembly and quality control. So when I apply now the filter, I don't see what is happening in assembly and quality control. So what I allow here, and this is the VPS only option, I allow that I only see a partial production order. This is something we don't have in the VJS. So let me remove this again, remove the filter again so that we see the entire picture. Then individualize my VPS in a way that I say, hey, you know, this option that I see partial production order, and this makes no sense. I always want to see the full production order. So if I disable this, that I only see the partial production order and apply again the filter, and again, there was a 1-hour webinar on this. If I enable the filter again, it looks empty because in my schedule, I don't have one single production order that just is finished in my machining department. I always have production orders that are used that are produced in both work center groups. And if we say we only show full production orders, then now we cannot show any. So this is also a way to individualize the view. And this is really, this filtering thing is a powerful way to individualize what you are seeing. And I cannot recommend enough to watch the webinar that we did because the filter concepts are very powerful and they bring a lot of possibilities to actually control and hence individualize the data that you see. So the next The next option is the context-specific information. So the context-specific information is the information that you see in a given context. So both in VPS and VJS, this is the tooltip text. So this is the text that you see on these bars when you hover with the mouse over an operation or a job planning line. But this is also the text on the bar, so the text that you show on these boxes, this is something that is not yet part of the product, but this is coming with the next version. And also this is part of the demo in a couple of minutes. So this is something that the team just finished to build. And then another option to customize the product will be that you can define the screen to start with, so that you can say, hey, I want the visual production scheduler to start in the production order view, or I want the visual job scheduler to start in the resource view, or I want to start the visual job scheduler in exactly the view that I had when I left this. So this is something that we are currently building. Then context-specific information is also information about progress. And in the VPS, you can customize it. You can customize and say, okay, I'm just posting my progress with output. So I'm just posting output to the routing lines. Then you can look at the progress information by quantity. And if you just book time, if you post time consumption to a routing line, then you can see this information by time. And then the next context specific information where you, for example, would like to highlight a certain job in the VJS, you can also actually customize the color of the bar, or it must be actually it is the color of a specific project. And again, this is something we can now look at. So back to Business Central. First option, and this is similar in both products, is the text, the tooltip text. So let's look at the tooltip text, and now I'm here in the VPS, and maybe I just change the view again to the production order view. And what we mean with the tooltip text is actually, if I'm here, I'm at the production order level and I see this info window. If I'm here, production order level, no info. If I'm here, production order level info window, now it's not coming. Hooray, demo effect. Not sure why. If I drill down, I'm on the production order line and I have a different info window. You see, production order, that info window, production order line, this info window. If I drill down further, I get information about the routing line status. So alone in this production order view, I have 3 different info windows. 1, 2, 3, and this is what we call the tooltip text. So now you can customize this. You can fully individualize this, and this is something you do under Actions, Administration, Setup, then go to Actions, Configuration, Tooltip. Okay, and now let's see. I can determine what the tooltip should be on certain entities. So I can say how it should look on production order level, how it should look like on production order line level, how it should look like for planned and firm planned operations, how it should look like for released operations. Why is there a difference? Well, for released operations, we have different information, and different type of information makes sense. Like the progress information makes sense here, don't make sense here. How does it look like in the other view on the work center group level, on the work center level, on the machine center level? So let's look at a planned production order or planned production order operations level. So I can click now here, and this is the information I saw just before. And I say, okay, I don't need this. Then I go and remove it. I don't need this. And I don't need the input quantity, the quantity, the item, the line number, rubbish. I don't need it. I want only view information. Martin told me not to have too many information. Starting date, ending date. I don't need this because I see it with the bar. I see the status by the color of the thing, so I don't need this. But maybe I'm interested in adding some information. So, you know, the machine center is an interesting information here, actually. So let's see if I'm getting the machine center and what kind of information do I have? Well, I could add the machine center name. So I did this, and then, hey, actually, this is super important information. So I move this up. And this is we have the first two things fixed, and this is now the first, the highest position we can have it. But then I say, okay, I close it, I close it. And when we look at this again, you see it is shorter, and we see the machine center name as third information here. So now we have the operation number, we have the description, and by chance now the description name and the machine center name is the same. And then we have the production order number and stuff like this. So now this info window got customized, and I should have better said individualized, because this is something that every user can do, so that every user can define this information. Again, this works for this view. If I look at this in the capacity view, it actually is the same. And then here I can say, okay, I can define this tooltip, and this is on the work center, and I can have the same on the machine center. So it's really powerful way to option. And now you might say, okay, Martin, wait a minute. I now see here in the capacity view this production order number, but the production order number is meaningless to my client. I want to see different type of information. Maybe I want to see, I don't know, let's look what we have. So then again, and this is not part of the product that you have, also not part of the product that you can download from AppSource, but this will be part of the next version that we get. But you can say again, action, administration, setup. Setup is a good place to customize stuff, by the way. And then action, configuration, label. And then we can say, okay, I want to customize the label of an operation in the capacity view. This is where I am right now, okay? So I can go here and say, hey, yeah, we have the production order number. Actually, what options do I have? I can look at production order. Okay, maybe production order brings me some more meaningful information here. And we can say, okay, we go for, let's see. Well, we could go for the description. We could go for the description, and I would also like to know from the production order line, what do we have? We have the item number. Hey, the item number is actually meaningful information to me. So now I added two information to this, and then I say close and say close. And voila, this label has been updated, and we now see two different information. And I know this is a back wheel, and this is the item number. It's pretty cool. And now we could add more information to this. You see, it gets kept. It gets kept when the text reaches the end of the bar. But if you zoom in, so if you want to see what is this there, oh, okay, it's a touring bicycle, item number 1100. And you could add more information to it, and then they would always be separated by this pipe sign. And the same, exactly the same, is available on the will be available on the VJS. And what is available on the VJS is the customization of this tooltip, the bar label for VJS coming with the next version, plus coming with the next version that actually here under actions, administration, setup, you also can define the view with which the product should start. And for the VPS, it will be either the capacity, you can say capacity view, or production order view, or you can say last view used, and then we will start from there. Then while I'm here, you see what you also can customize, and this is something, or individualize. what I spoke about before. This is under general progress calculation. In my database, I'm booking units, right? I'm not booking time. I'm booking pieces. I'm not the time guy. I'm the unit guy. So I'm booking unit, and so I want to see my progress bar on the release production orders where I have output bookings and where I have a production journal filled. I want to see this based on quantity, but in other organizations, you post time, and then you can say post on time, or you can say, hey, I don't want to see a progress bar at all. So this is something you can individualize, and depending on what you do, is down here or left here actually where the released production orders are. Hang on, where are they? There are the released production orders, and then you see they have these underscores, and I ran a webinar on what these underscores means, by the way. So will not explain this right now, but here in my case, this progress bar now is based on the output booking by quantities, and you can also tell the product, hey, this should be by time. So now let's move to the VJS, because in the VJS we actually have an additional way of individualize the data. And let's go quickly to the shortened view with the show projects. And here again, you see that my default color is blue for the jobs, but I have a job that is orange and I have a job that is red, and this red is my noise project, so my new project. This is something I created in a webinar. And when we look at this jobs card via a double click, hello. There you see now I'm on the job card, and you see you can specify the color for the job. And now I typed in red, but I could have also set color picker. I choose whatever, some of the colors from this color spectrum here. And I did the same with this one, orange. And the thing is now, if I drill down into this project, if I drill down into the job planning lines, then all job planning lines are shown in red. And if I'm in the resource view, then all the job from this job are also shown in red. So now at one glance, I see, okay, this is my red job, this is my orange job. So this is another way to add context-specific information. For example, if you want to highlight a certain job, if you have a certain job for a very important customer, then you can use this individualization option to make a job stand out. So the next thing that you can customize is the level of information detail. And this is just that you can define which kind of detail you want to see. In VPS and VJS, you can zoom in and zoom out into the time scale. In VPS, you can hide and show non-working times. You can tell the histogram if this should be by second, by day, by week, by month, and you can show the setup time. And in the VJS, you can actually say in the job view if you want to see a resource summary bar. So let's start with the VJS again, and let's start with general level of details of the time scale. So now you see here is my time scale. This is most likely all, or not all, this is almost all of the jobs I loaded, all of the time frames. So if I want to see the least granular view of my overall project timeline that I've loaded, then I can say time scale, fit into view, and then this now is the entire time of data that I loaded, so that I defined with the time frame filter. And then from here on, I can change the information level by drilling down. So I can either zoom the mouse wheel like I'm doing right now, and then I can zoom in, and then I see the month and the calendar weeks and the days, and now here it stops because in the VJS we just said the minimum resolution is day. If you go to the VPS, you can also further zoom in and see whatever hours, minutes, and even seconds. So with the mouse wheel on the time scale, you can change the resolution. Then with the VJS, and let's go back maybe to this red job, into the job view. You see I have my job, my job tasks, and my planning lines, okay? You can actually show another level of data here from actions, administration, user setup, and then I can say, actually, this is a company-wide setting. Sorry for that. So let me do it again. Actions, administration, company setup. And I can say I set hide summary resource summary bar. If I don't do this, then you see I added another layer of data. This is this gray summary bar that actually is very valid if you have multiple planning lines with the same resource under one job task line at different dates. Then you get a summary of this, and then you can better deal with this. Like we have it here, you see multiple lines below and then a summary bar on top of them. For me personally, this is too much of detail of information, so I like it a little bit rougher. I don't need this, so I always have them on hide, but we have customers who really make good use of it, and for them, they can show it, and this is information level that you can see or that you cannot see. Then in the VPS, we actually have a few more options that you can individualize your data, and they are actually all more or less all applied to the capacity view. So I go to the capacity view. When we are in the capacity view of the VJS, and let me quickly open a few machine centers as well. You see these gray and white stripes in the background, and this is white is the work time, gray is the non-work time. And we have the option that we can blend out the common work free time. So the gray areas that are common to all work centers and machine centers, they can be blended out. So I can say actions, calendar, hide non-working periods, and then these gray stripes that are common to all work and machine centers are removed, are not shown anymore. So now I have a little less detailed information. I get a better overview actually in the load on these work centers, and these are shown because they are unique to this type of machine centers. The other thing is that where you can change the level of detail of information that you see, I can actually say on the right mouse click, show setup times, because with some of you guys, setup times are very important. And now you see that with some of these boxes, some of these bars, they are now actually split, or they are now colored in with two colors, with gray and with whatever the status color is. And so now these gray areas here, they indicate the setup time, and the rest is the runtime. So this is another level of detail of information that you can get. And then we can look at the capacity utilization either on work center level or on machine center level. And right now, this is by, let me pick something where I have more data. Right now, this is by day. So now I see, no, it's not by day. I think it's by whatever I choose last. Let me see capacity. It's by day. And And now I can say, actually, I want to have this capacity chart by second. So then if I move stuff here, you see that the capacity load chart here and here at some point of time updates. And then I can say now I have this by actually second accurate by the second, so that I always see when the exact load in this work and machine center happens. When I say, well, I'm just looking at average values, I want to see this by day, then I can do it like this. Then it is stacked by day, and now I see, okay, my capacity here in this work center is 2,700 minutes, and this is loaded on that day with 625 minutes. But I also can say, hey, I want to see the same by week or even by month, and then we always see an average histogram per work center, per machine center by month. And so this is again a level of detail individualization that you can do. And then last but not least, there is also scheduling behavior that you can change, and this is only related to the VPS. And you can say under settings that you want to automatically schedule successors or not, that you want to automatically schedule predecessors or not, and that you want to schedule across production order lines. So let's have a brief look on this as well. And let me look, let's switch the view. I think this is better shown here. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, we have a production order, and now let's change the level of detail of information and zoom in a bit. We have the production order with the routing steps, and what you can do under administration setup, you can say that when you move stuff, when you drag and drop stuff, if you want to move predecessors or successors or not. So first of all, if both are, or if, and we have three options, if all three options are switched off and the first two options belong to predecessors and successors within one production order line, so it is the routing lines of one production order lines, and then this one is if you have also production orders that are linked with each other via reservation. So if all of this is switched off, let's look at this. We can just individually move an operation, and this is not moved, this is not moved, and we now may create actually a successor, a predecessor successor violation, but I still can say on right mouse click schedule successors, and then this is moved. If I don't want this, so if I say, hey, I'm moving this and everything should move as well, then I can say, okay, I want predecessors and successors to move when I change something. I don't want these cases to happen. So now let's move something. And now you see the successor got pushed out, but also the predecessor got moved because I said, hey, I want to move the successor and I want to move the predecessor. Again, now let's move it to the left. Predecessor get moved, successors get moved. My preferred way of working and thinking is that I have the predecessor switched off and the successor switched on, which allows me to do something like this. I can say, okay, I'm fine with this, I'm fine with this. I have a delay here, so I have to move it to the next day. This remains where it was, but the successors get moved. This is what I observe how a lot of customers think. What it does not have then, if I move it, if I say, hey, I can start it earlier, then this one is not adapted because I have the predecessor schedule switched off, but then I can say schedule predecessors and then they are pushed to the left based from the start date here. And then we basically have the same, and let me look if I have an example here actually with link. We have it at least here. I have a production order with multiple production order lines, and these production order lines are linked via reservations. And if I switch on the schedule across production order line option, then if in one of these, let's say earlier components, if I have a delay here, and you see I need to build this first before I can build this, and this is done via reservations. If I move this, then this is moved out with all the operations below. And again, I can say I want this to happen like I just did, but I can also switch it off, then this won't happen. So this is also something where you can individualize the scheduling behavior. And these are right now the options that we have. And you saw also some of the options that we work on. And with this, let's get back to PowerPoint. And let's get also back to the question like, what if this is not enough? What if you actually have a unique requirement? And then this is just, let's say, the information that we have a product or a service that we call the visual scheduling and in development toolbox. This is actually the tool that we, our own, have developed to build all our extensions. So the VPS, the VJS, the VAPS, even the retired VRV, they were built with the same toolbox. And we can also give you this toolbox with an API that allows the connection via AL or a CAL API so that you can build your very own bespoke visual scheduler that integrates either with your bespoke tables or that serves a very specific need for your client that the VPS or the VJS or the VAPS cannot serve. So on our website, and let's quickly go there, and by the way, if this is interesting for you, if the toolbox is interesting for you, and if you want to learn more about it, then please quickly comment and quickly type a comment in the chat box, because then we can definitively run a webinar on this as well. So when you're on the website and when you are on the hover over the for Dynamics 365 Business Central menu and then say develop your own visual scheduler, then you get to this page, and from here you also can download a test of this toolbox so that you or your developers can play with this and build something individually just for you guys. So this is really another option of making a scheduler, in this case, really very, very individual. And with this, curious to hear if you have any question. I covered everything that I wanted to show you. And if not, then thank you for your attention. Thank you very much that you were here with me today. And if you feel you have a question afterwards, then just drop me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to discuss and engage with you there. So with this, thanks, and stay safe and healthy, and see you soon. Bye-bye.